Hi, I'm Bo Howell, CEO and founder of Jute, and I'm here today with Al-Dhubaib, CEO of Pandata. Cal, welcome to our first Fireside Chat.
Hey there, Bo.
The other thing we hear about too is there might be a process in place where people are handling some of the data, right? And they're doing it manually. It's not scalable. They're maybe missing out on important things, but a lot of the employees might be worried that bringing in machine learning or something like that, it's going to take my job, right? I mean, the robots are going to take over and we're going to be all in Terminator land. What's the reality about how people and machines work together?
I love that question. So I'm a firm believer that we are long ways out from having AI that's truly competitive with human capacity. However, the reality is AI is going to change the nature of work. Um, it's not about all or nothing, right? All human or all machine. The most successful use cases in my experience are ones that are designed to augment a human's ability. And in fact, intentionally designed to make the human's life a little bit easier. So when we talk about, examples like reviewing emails, right, and having somebody hired in to dedicated to do this job, that's relatively boring and repetitive. What if there's an alternative world out there where there's an algorithm that can scan tens of thousands of emails going out and say, I found these 10 most interesting conversations that stood out as weird or different. Also, on email number one, here's why. It mentions this sensitive document or organization, or it's inconsistent with this other piece of information over here. The wording in it is contradictory or complex or indicates a level that connects to something affected by regulation, right? So you now have the ability to flag and explain why things are being flagged, and then leave that in the hands of the human to make some decisions. A big mistake on both sides of those extremes is one, you design a system that tries to take action and completely removes the human from the loop. You end up with poor quality, high risk machine learning running amok, and that's something that we should be afraid of.
Right.
And on the flip side of that, if you're like, well, we can't trust machine learning models to be able to get this right, the best that you can hope to do is this manual sampling.
Right. So if I'm a firm that has no data science knowledge, skills, expertise, right? Small, medium business, and maybe I don't have a lot of resources. I can't hire a 5-person data science team, right?
Sure.
How can I think about, can I still get into this space, or am I dependent on somebody building what I need and just waiting for it to come along?
There's an answer of this that was true up until a couple of years ago, but general wisdom holds. Try a solution that exists first. It
Okay.
may get most of what you need done.
So buy instead of build.
Yeah, buy instead of build. Start with buy instead of build. Don't rush to build. Increasingly, though, it makes sense for some smaller organizations now to be able to invest in a unique capability that is very, very specific to what they do. And up until a few years ago, the ability to build machine learning systems that build off of things like documents or images or more complex forms of data at scale used to be the exclusive territory of big tech. Today, there are so many building blocks and libraries and tools out there that accelerate your ability to design and deploy these solutions, and more importantly, keep them fresh and up to date, that it's significantly reduced the barriers to getting started for small and mid-sized companies. But even then, buy before you build, figure out what works and what doesn't work, and come up with a compelling case where it makes sense to build your own.
Do you think even if I go to buy, and certainly if I go to build, do I, if I'm leading a project or have an idea, how much background and knowledge do I need of data science, computer science, things like that? Is it something where if I'm a financial, a CFO or a chief operating officer or a chief compliance officer, is there something I can do to get myself to a point where I can at least work well with teams? And if so, what should I do to get there?
Great question. And I'm assuming you're familiar with the term like digital literacy.
Right.
Okay, so this is something that's now become a basic part of our vocabulary. It used to be relatively new 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and you'd have to see job descriptions, right? Like must understand word processing, must understand, right? And that was something that workforces around the world had to get up to speed on. The next iteration of this that we really saw take place in the 2010s up until now has been data literacy. That's a term that more people have started to use, and it's becoming more popular. Data literacy means I know what data is, I know what it can look like, I know what a chart is. The next wave is going to be AI literacy. And this is understanding at a high level how a machine learns, why that matters, how data becomes patterns, or how patterns are extracted from data when you're doing things like machine learning. Having a good understanding of these basics, data quality, risk management, expectations, performance, what's reasonable. These are things that are important for any stakeholder involved in an AI project to get up to speed on. The good news is you don't need to know how to build machine learning models to be able to talk with machine learning teams. You do, however, need to have some level of AI literacy. And a great way of getting up to speed with that is taking a generalist course. Andrew Ng, great thought leader. I really look up to him. He ran Google's AI team and Baidu's AI team, and he produced a course called AI for Everyone. Really digestible, 4 hours of investment, and that will give you most of what you need.
Okay, that's great. What are things you see? What are some of the most common questions either you get asked or that you wish people would ask when they're thinking about how do I manage my data? Maybe what are some of the things I can do with machine learning?
It's a great. I don't. I have a big wish list, I guess, when it comes to what I wish people would ask. Something that I see that people often get wrong is they don't understand what machine learning is or the difference between machine learning and AI and even analytics. And I noticed this pattern. I'm just going to flip the question around a little bit. I noticed this pattern of uh, we like to call things AI when we
Right.
don't understand it. And I don't know if you've observed this in practice or have any commentary on it. But
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
we do see it, and I spoke at a national compliance conference a few months ago, and it starts off. I always start off with there's AI, right, which is this big subset, and you've got narrow AI and general AI, right? We're not even, like you said, we're not even anywhere near general AI, machines being able to think on their own. We're all in this narrow space. And then there's all these subcategories, right? Machine learning is a subcategory. And then deep learning is like another layer of machine learning, right? So I do think when you talked about AI literacy, we're not there yet. Certainly not in the financial services space. A lot of people don't understand these terms. And so I think it's always helpful to have a quick reset on what do we mean by some of these terms and what exactly are we talking about. So no, I agree.
And it makes it more confusing when you now have tools like Power BI, which is, ability to build dashboards that are AI enabled. So yes, you're using
Right.
Power BI to do analytics, but AI might be helping you with some of these insights. And so people are starting to confuse the boundaries. So I try to explain this using a chart when I give talks, and I have these two axes. One is the complexity of the data, right? So you start at the basics. You have basic spreadsheets, you have documents, you have images, you have audio, you have video, bigger and bigger scale data, right? More complex data. And then you have on the other side, you have the complexity of the task. Am I measuring something, right? Are there beans there? Are there 10 beans? How many beans? The next step up from that is, can I guess in the future, right? How many beans might there be 10 days from now? Next step up from that might be, can I recommend something from a set of actions? And then the highest level, most complex is, can I create something new? Can I write novel content? Can I come up with a new strategy that was previously undiscovered? Can I move in a new way, right? Self-driving vehicles. So these are the more complex tasks. Whenever you're dealing with spreadsheets and counting, that's analytics.
Right.
Everything else, that's machine learning. And it doesn't matter if it's the most complex or it's the least complex. Machine learning is being used to build these systems. And I think that there's often a misconception of it's only AI if it's that very fancy, advanced, intelligent stuff.
Yeah, we almost need to throw that term out, right? Because it's just not all that helpful. It's too broad. It's too ubiquitous out there. So, well, thank you very much for joining us today. We really appreciate all your insights, Cal. Would love to have you back sometime. I think continuing to drive this AI literacy is something that we should just keep pushing for. So, thanks for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure. I had such a great time in the conversation.